Welcome to Red Light, Green Light, the podcast where you'll hear from industry leaders in science, technology, and innovation about the power of strategic storytelling. With decades of experience, our guests will share their own insights and real-world stories to help you avoid red light barriers and ignite green light solutions, from the Zoom room to the boardroom. In each episode, we'll corkscrew downward into the guests' personal experiences of challenge and success, highlighting strategies that turn complex ideas into clear, compelling storylines for stakeholders. Here is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips to try immediately to drive the vision of innovation with your team. Here is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips to try immediately that drive the vision of innovation with your team. Episode of Red Light, Green Light. I am your host, Cindy Skalicky, and every week we bring to you a guest who hails from the areas of science, technology, and innovation, and we bring them on to share some of their storylines after 20 or more years in business. They've learned some hard things, they've found some secrets, and they've got stories to share. So we're going to dive deeply with a guest today I'm very excited to bring to you, Dr. Roque Martinez. Welcome to the show, Roque. How are you?
Doing well, Cindy. Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here.
You are most welcome. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I did kind of put together a few sentences that I want to use as an introduction for you because I really enjoyed our preliminary conversation. So, Roque, everybody, Rocky's a hands-on technology leader, and his origin story starts in the Bronx, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And he's moved from there to the front lines of AI productization, which is not an easy word to say 5 times fast, right? One of the things I thought was so interesting, Roque, about what you did is going back to Columbia for an MBA in what you kind of call, it's like an MBA of technology leadership, which is a great place for us to dive in as well. But currently you are the CTO at Frontier Foundry.
Yes.
We'll dive into that as well. So let's back it up. Tell us about starting out in the Bronx. And I specifically remember in our conversation some learnings you had around direct communication.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Sure. So, growing up in the Bronx, there was not a lot of I think you should, or maybe you should, or I suggest you should.
Hedging.
It was very direct, like, get away from me now or we're going to have a problem, or go do that before we have a problem. So there's no negotiation, which when you become a parent doesn't always work. But in business, I learned that being direct and maybe not such a confrontational way helps reduce a lot of the kind of misunderstandings that happen along the way, and especially in my journey. So, so one of the knocks I always had that I was very direct, but people liked working with me because I was very direct. There was no hidden agenda. There's our target.
Yes.
Let's go get it. Let's go get it together. Yep. Let's knock it out and then go find the next one.
Right.
There was
It sounds like that was definitely a positive, and yet maybe the delivery of it was a little bit what we wanted to polish. But I completely respect direct communication, and we teach a lot about that, and it's very valuable for people to learn. So I think your coming to age of it, so to speak, is interesting because of coming from the Bronx. So awesome. So yeah, take us through where you ended up. How'd you get to where you are from the Bronx?
So I grew up in the Bronx, as we know. I went to 2 high schools. I went to Brooklyn Tech, and then that was just too far for me. And then I transferred to Fordham Prep, which opened a huge world of different understandings or different careers. I went to school with the CEO's children or sons.
Okay. Interesting.
Bankers. One of my teachers was a famous actor,
Really?
He was the Jesuit in I can't remember, Carrie, the one where what's her name? She gets possessed, and then the priest comes in, and
Oh, The Exorcist.
The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Yes,
Come
yes.
on.
So
Wow. Okay.
yeah. So the
Right.
young priest was my religion teacher.
No way.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Sort of
yeah,
like weird.
yeah. It was weird when someone pointed it out to me. I was like, oh, that's okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a
And
contrast. Yes.
yeah, so just being in that environment, made me realize that there are a lot of other things available outside of
Yeah.
what my family had. And my family was, you know, first generation out of Puerto Rico.
Okay.
They came to the Bronx,
Yeah.
and the journey of learning English, and then
Yep.
themselves going through school.
Hmm.
Even though my parents didn't go to college, all my aunts and uncles went to college,
Okay.
but it was a very I want to say blue collar, white collar. Like, you want to get a union job, you want to have a
Hmm.
pension,
Hmm.
and it was not banking, finance, and
Hmm.
um, those types of careers.
Okay.
So when I went to the prep, some of my people I went to school with,
Hmm.
their fathers were bankers, they were
Yep.
financiers, um, they were in a world that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
And,
White collar world. Right.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
And then when I went to university, I went to Fordham University,
Okay.
and I went to school with, I want to say, 40 of the people I graduated with.
That's a lot,
Yeah,
right?
it was a straight, my first year of college was strange because I was literally in classes where half my classes were my high school.
Wow, that's so
And
unusual.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, Fordham Prep,
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
they
Like for
encourage
the
it.
rest of us, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of transition problem. I was like, wait, is this high school? Is this college? It was,
Right. Funny.
but I got, and especially when I got there, some of my colleagues worked for a company. Their fathers worked for Merrill Lynch, and mothers actually worked for Merrill Lynch.
Okay.
And they said, there's this great program, and you should start applying for it now. If I was never exposed to those people in that world, I never would have.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect.
Right.
I mean, yeah, who
Um,
we are around really matters. Hmm.
it does, and you have to keep, not that I knew what I was doing,
Hmm.
but I always kind of had an open mind because my my stepfather always kept saying, "You don't know everything. Listen before you talk."
Right.
So I would do a lot of listening, and then I would ask questions, and then
Hmm.
kind of ended up on this journey where I'm at.
Hmm. So Rocky, I have a question. You're describing an interesting place where you have, clear line of sight to a blue collar road map if you want it, and a clear, but maybe harder, I don't know, line of sight to this white collar world, and you're sort of standing at this fork. Do you recall contemplating that decision, as far as which way you thought your life ought to go based on your skills, or like, do you even remember thinking
So yeah,
about it?
so I have to credit my stepfather a lot for
Okay.
making that decision, and not because he consciously may have done it, but he may have not have realized what he did was,
Okay.
since I was 13 or 14, he owned delis,
Mhm.
and every day off, I was at the deli in
Mhm.
Manhattan on 37th Street at
Mhm.
5:30 in the morning,
My gosh.
and I swore every day, it's like, I am not going to live my life like this.
Okay.
So as soon as I got a chance, it's like, I don't have to do this.
Whoop, jumping ship. Yes.
So I I don't know,
Well, you
if
were exposed to that. Yeah, and you
yeah,
made a
yeah,
choice.
yeah. I mean, I worked in kitchens. I worked in the front end. I did carpentry. I
Yeah.
dug ditches for sewers. I
Yeah.
did everything. So
I'm sure it gives you an appreciation though for a whole host of just people that, whose livelihood that is right now, people in your organizations who are doing the proverbial grunt work of, like I'm sure that I think that makes us better leaders. Like I bagged groceries at a grocery store when I was 13 or 14 and I did not love that and I was not
yeah,
planning to make that my career, but we do appreciate those people who make the world run, right? So,
absolutely. I don't
yeah.
any. My wife and I sometimes have a bicker because I'll leave like a 30% tip. If it's
Oh,
a $50 or $60 bill, I'll leave way
yeah.
more than I
We
should.
sometimes do that. Yeah.
And she's like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
the 3 or 4 bucks could make a difference to them,
Right. Right,
right?
right, right. And
I mean, it makes a difference to us, but it
right.
makes a more proportional difference to them."
Right, right. We talk. My husband and I have similar conversations, and we specifically lean in heavier for hairdressers and drivers, like Uber drivers.
Yeah.
Depending, like some certain areas of life are harder. People are on, come from harder places. So I think that's
Hairdressers especially. I mean, people don't realize. I have a few friends of mine, and don't sleep on hairdressers. They know how to manage money, and they
yeah.
do a really good job about it. So
Yes.
don't sleep on
Yes.
on their
Totally.
their shoulders and their elbows.
Oh yeah.
They're shot. I know several hairdressers in their late 50s, and
Yeah.
and their thumbs. They're in constant pain because
Wow.
of the years
That
of
makes sense.
and so
Standing constantly,
yeah,
that's one of the things I remember about one of my hairdressers
yeah,
saying she just really had back problems and whatever
yeah,
else. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, Rocky, tell us about, we haven't gotten to the technology part of your storyline yet, which I'd love to turn to because one of my curious, one of my curiosities is always like when I meet a new person who's really like, well, in any industry, but especially tech and blockchain is something you have a lot of experience into. Like, how did you decide, when did you determine that you had a knack for math, science, or technology that you wanted to pursue it and get better at it or had just a way of seeing things? When did that happen for you?
So it happened longer than I want to admit to, but
Okay.
when I was in university, that's when PCs started taking off,
Okay,
and
sure.
um, back then I wasn't allowed to dual major, and I forget why.
Yeah.
University had rules.
Okay.
So I was taking a lot of comp sci with my finance
Okay.
because I liked both of them.
Yep.
And there was this little thing called Lotus 123.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a professor that was struggling with it, and I helped him
Hmm.
with Lotus 123. And we did a lot of very early modeling. Like if a stock
Okay.
reaches this, we had all these macros that we built, and
Cool.
it was really, really cool. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is what I kind of want to do.
Yeah. Cool.
Um, and he kind of looked at me and goes, "Yeah, there are no jobs like this out there. It's too soon."
Oh,
But
touche.
he's
That there
kind of
are.
right. You were a little early.
Yeah. Sure.
Um, so that's why I started pursuing a lot of the technology side of finance.
Okay.
Also, I mean, it's an uncomfortable topic, but back when I was trying to break in, brown people didn't get into the front office. You were
Okay.
middle or back office.
Okay.
And middle and back office meant you were either uh, doing clerk work like
Mm-hmm.
settlements and
Mm-hmm.
reconciliations,
Mm-hmm.
or possibly computer work because they
Okay.
still back then a keyboard was still associated with kind of secretarial work.
Yep. Sure. Sure.
So it was like, okay, well, brown people can kind of do
You were there.
secretarial work.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was able to do a lot of the computer work. And then um, Merrill Lynch had this pro when Merrill Lynch was really Merrill Lynch and not
Yep.
what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, them and JP Morgan
Mm-hmm.
had these training programs where
Okay.
you spent 6 months to 12 months as an intern, and you basically went through what I called corporate boot camp. And if you
Yeah.
graduated,
Yeah.
you went into one of the prestigious areas in the bank. And
Okay. And that's
so,
how you did that.
yeah. So one of my friends from university, his father was fairly senior at Merrill.
Mm-hmm.
And I called him up and I said, Mr. Tugnino, can you really please help me? And he says, I can't promise you anything. You got to go through the process. I said,
Okay.
fine. But I got the first interview and then I got lucky and I called the poor person every day at 3 o'clock because that was the time between my classes, and I had a roll of
Okay.
quarters, and anybody remembers.
Toot,
And I
toot,
would
toot,
drop my
toot.
quarters and make the call and say,
Yeah.
"Mr. Kelly, have you made a decision about my employment yet?"
I love it.
And he, for I want to say 2 or 3 weeks, kept saying no, no, no. And then one day he called. He goes, "Rocky, you're in. Just stop calling me. You'll get
Oh,
the email."
well, I would like to highlight this as a green light moment, everybody, because the initiative that can sometimes be required to get what we want is all we need. I mean, you had some, some savvy around how to get the attention of the person that you needed, the desire and the fire to not care how many times you were going to call, right? I mean, we can't, depends on the situation, of course, but I
Right.
love that. I think so often, at least, I have kids that are 16 to 22 right now, and we keep drilling like initiative. That's how you're going to move into new places and spaces, because the world does not reward laziness or mediocrity. So get off your behinds and make the calls at 3 o'clock in between your classes if you need to. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's
what
awesome.
and what people, I mean, what I leave out of that story is that there were two other jobs. One was at IBM, and I forget the other was at another bank, and those washed off. I mean, I
Yeah,
didn't, so I was lucky to make my break there. So,
yeah,
um,
fantastic. Hey listeners, super quick station break question for you. Have you ordered your copy of my new best-selling book, Red Light, Green Light? Check it out. Grab your copy today at onpoint-communications.com/book. And now back to the show. Let's tap this program from Columbia briefly, and then I want to
sure.
ask about some of your insights on, what you've seen over the years from the perspective of moving out of kind of that lab mentality into leading
Mhm.
and guiding. So let's start with the Columbia program of this MBA in technology
Yep.
management. Did you say? I love
Yeah. So
leadership. Mhm.
it's a master's in technology management, and
Okay.
it's based on the MBA type, the MBA
Yep.
load, but it's
Programming.
focused towards technology management. The director
Really?
of that was a person by the name of Dr. Art Langer, and he's a wonderful person, and he knows way more many people than he should. But
Mm-hmm.
he structured that program because what he noticed was technologists tend to think that the technology is important,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not,
Right. Wait,
because
say that again. Say that again.
the technology is not important. What
Right.
is important is the value and the opportunity that it brings to bring value, either through revenue, if you're a for profit, or uh, for applying to a mission if you're not for profit,
Yes. I love
right?
this. Yes.
And you could have the best technology, but if it doesn't fix a problem, reduce
Yeah.
friction in the market,
Right.
does not drive revenue, I don't care how good it is. I mean,
Yeah. Right. It has to
it
link to
doesn't work.
value. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So what made you decide to go into that? So, I'm imagining your sort of stepping stones here, and you did that program through Merrill Lynch, got seated there. Was this after that then,
Yeah,
Rocky? Okay.
so it was a few decades.
Okay. You
I
look
was
like a young, no.
I was lucky and unlucky enough to go through a lot of startups. Well, I was at Merrill Lynch
Yeah.
for 5 years, which
Okay.
gave me the big company grounding of
Yeah.
how big companies should do
Yeah.
things. And then I went through a series of startups where I learned big versus small, what works, what doesn't.
Yes.
And then I landed at a company where I was there for 15 years, and
Okay.
I worked my way up to being CTO.
Okay.
And as all CTOs should know, your lifespan is 18 to 24 months. And
Interesting.
at around 23 months, the CEO said, "You're doing a great job, but nobody wants to follow what you're doing anymore." And he
Wow.
meant by the business,
Yeah, I
because
know. Sure.
the
But
business
still.
was the typical, you know, reach the top of growth. They don't know how to grow anymore,
Yeah.
and it requires a different mindset. I'm trying to say
Yes.
we need a
Yes.
different mindset.
Totally
Everybody's
get it.
saying you're full of whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Huh.
I get, so instead of being the CTO of the whole SmartStream company, I become the CTO of a smaller company that they own called a reference data utility.
Okay.
When that happened,
Mm-hmm.
um, I went into the fetal position for about a week.
Mm-hmm.
I
Sure.
was distraught. I was,
Mm.
you failed. I don't,
Yeah.
we just kind of met, but you could
Oh, the
tell I'm not one that
self-talk.
does well with
Mm-hmm.
failing.
Yeah.
And my good friend, Brad Lunsford, who we've worked together, I don't know, since '99.
Okay.
we're working at Sportsman together, and
Mhm.
one day I'm at work kind of moping around, and he goes, "What are you complaining about? You kept your job. You're
Mhm.
getting paid the same. You probably have less stress. Like, stop moping around. Like, take the bull
Right.
by the horns and go make this thing better than it was."
It's like shake you by the shoulder.
Yeah, he pretty did. He pretty much
Yeah.
did. And
Yeah.
and my wife also said, "I'm tired of seeing you moping around the house."
Yeah. Yeah, time to spring into action and do that initiative thing you did before,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So that's when I applied to Columbia. Did not
Okay.
think I was going to get in because my undergrad grades weren't great.
Right.
I interviewed with Art, and he said, "I'd love to have you, but you can't come to New York because your grades suck. You're going to have to pay your penance. You're
Okay.
going to have to go to Paris for your classes." And I'm like,
Wait,
"I
stop.
could
That is
take
not
that
a
penance.
that's
I
not
could
a
take that."
punishment.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was. And my wife looked at me and goes, "Only you will have a punishment that you
You're
have to
gonna
go to
have
Paris for four
well,
times in a year and a
this
half."
is personally funny to me because my dream is to like live in Paris to work with anyone who will let me because I have about 16 years of French under my belt from when I
Yeah,
was young. And I did not study abroad when I was in college because I transferred from one institution to another and it kind of like, took away the feasibility of an abroad
right.
program. And so that's like my adult dream. And so for you to say that, I'm like, hands down, where's this application? Like,
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
so I went, got my master's, learned what I probably should have learned 15 years prior,
Yeah. Okay.
to how to run a business,
Yeah.
how to really deal with people in a way direct but appropriate, not
Yes.
Bronx speak.
Yep. Right.
Um, Give a
Well,
different perspective.
yeah.
I think it was one of the best things I did educationally,
Hmm.
personally. It helped me
Yeah.
deal with my family better.
Wow. Amazing.
And yeah, because it really changed the way I looked at
Mm,
situations, and I looked at stress, and I looked at,
interesting.
right,
Leading. Hmm.
leading. Yeah, it was
Yeah. Right.
basically leading. I mean, one of the exercises is they would put you in the front of the room of 300 people, and then they would drop some kind of terrible news that you'd have to.
Oh, I love that. That's
So,
a
and you,
great exercise.
yeah, and you had
Wow.
10, 15 seconds to read it, and then to say,
Here's what we're going
as
to do.
CEO of ABC Corp, unfortunately today we had an accident that killed 2,000 people. I mean, it was that heavy, and you
Wow.
had to learn
I
how to
am borrowing
internalize,
that.
externalize, deal with it. I mean, it was fake, so we had
Of course.
leeway on what we could say
Yeah, of course.
afterwards.
But the practice of being thrown into the fire like that, I am so borrowing that for future. So everybody out there who's coming into our client orbit, this is what we're going to be doing from now on.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. I do have a question, Rocky, on your decision to do that program. Do you feel like like you went toward that MBA in order to potentially solve or close a specific gap from the fetal position situation? Or did you just say, I need a new thing and I want to do that?
No, it was specifically in response to.
Okay.
So one of the things that I worked for a man many years ago who was, um, one of the few last group managers in Wall Street, right? So group
Okay.
managers used to have 5, 10,000 people working for
Holy
them.
cow. Okay.
They don't exist anymore.
Okay.
Um, but
There's
we were
probably a reason
friendly.
for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we were friendly. And it was funny because I would see him on the train and be like, "I know that guy." And one day I just said, "Do you work at Merrill Lynch?" And he kind of laughed. He goes, "I'm your boss's boss's boss." I'm like, "Okay, so
There's
you
that
do work at
initiative
Merrill."
again.
Yeah. And he laughed. He's like, "Doesn't scare you?" I'm like, "No, you're a human being." I mean,
Yeah. That's
so
huge,
so we got
though.
friendly. And one of the things he always taught me was, um, there are never mistakes that you cannot fix, but you have to know what you did wrong first.
Right.
And a
Yes.
lot of people don't get that. A lot of people
No.
make a mistake and they just want to move on.
Yes.
And I'm a little stubborn, like, okay, I made that mistake. What did I do wrong? So,
Yes.
A, was it me? B, was
Love
it
it.
the person I was dealing with?
Love it.
What was the mistake? What was the opportunity for change there, right? And
Yeah.
that's how I look at it.
Well, what'd you come up with when you asked yourself that question after leaving that role? Like what was
Well,
your answer?
so after the program, what I realized was technology doesn't matter. Like
Oh, okay. That's when you hit this light
I
bulb moment.
kept focusing on the technology. Like
Okay.
we have the best tech, we have this, and they're saying, "Who cares?" And I'm like, "What do you mean you don't care? We're a technology company."
Yeah.
And I would get all riled up and
Oh,
belligerent
that's
and
brilliant.
and violent almost.
Oh my gosh.
There were a bunch
Okay.
of alpha males in a room, and
Yeah.
um and then finally I went to this program. I was like, that was my mistake. I
Yeah.
wasn't talking somewhere in on the internet. There's an interview with me where I say you have to learn the language of P&L if you're going to
Yeah.
communicate to anybody,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially in business, because nobody cares that your email arrives 2 seconds faster or you have an algorithm that allows you to do XYZ two
Mm-hmm.
days early. No
Mm-hmm.
one cares about that. What they want to know is this thing that you created, does it make me an extra million, 2 million, 4 million, or 24 million?
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Show me the
And
money, point to the numbers.
right. So you got to
Mm-hmm.
talk P&L. So if you
Yeah.
talk P&L,
Interesting.
you no longer are the outsider. You're talking the same language as that product manager that has a $50 million
Yeah.
number on their head every year.
Yeah.
And if you're not helping them get there, they don't really want to pay attention to you.
I love this. There's so many gems in here, Rocky, but this one is great because this whole concept of, the ability of technology leaders and CTOs particularly to get out of lab mindset and into that lead, and also to get out of tech and the nuts and bolts of everything. That's not the shiny object. The value you're adding to people's P&L, that's the shiny thing. And the people on your team are the shiny thing, because you need to be a leader who wants to be followed
Right.
in the organization, so you can bring people up the mountain, so to speak, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm sure you had some great learnings there. So take us to what's coming, like what's going on now, what's happening, what are you working on next in terms of the next 12 months, kind of what's lighting your fire, in the now and the next.
So the things that we're concentrating right now are
And
what I
maybe first
call
tell us what Frontier Foundry is. Sorry.
so yeah. So Frontier Foundry is a privacy first AI company, and what that means is we don't build tools that call APIs to the other third parties out there. We actually go and take a model, host it. We'll do fine tuning if we have to, but our journey usually starts uh, with taking augmentation,
Mm-hmm.
creating personalities, using MCP and now skills
Mm-hmm.
tools to see what are the kind of the work that you're trying to do, the value that you're trying to bring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
just because you could write a prettier email, that doesn't mean you're generating more money, right?
Right. P&L
But
language. Right.
right,
Mm-hmm.
but if you have a customer that calls up and says, I have ten widgets on the shelf. How much is it going to cost for me to get 30?" And
Mm-hmm.
you could type, Rocky Martinez Corp needs 20 widgets by Tuesday,
Mm.
and that thing can come up and say it's going to cost them $3,000. Your cost is $2,000, and we can ship it on Tuesday.
Wow.
Connecting those systems in any industry is where we think the next value is going to come,
That's huge. Okay.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
fantastic. What's the name mean? Like, how did that come up? Were you part of that, or like Frontier Foundry? How do you describe
so yeah,
that?
so I was not the founder.
Okay.
A gentleman by Sultan Meji and
Mm-hmm.
another partner who had left.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is a foundry, like you're building stuff,
Sure.
and they're on the frontier, so they're on the edge of building
Yeah.
stuff.
Love
That's
it.
kind of how
That's what
the
I was
term came
thinking.
together,
I love that.
right?
Cool. Okay. Well, what are some things that you are seeing in the industry trends, or what's happening in the economy and the world and for businesses that makes the next, 6 to 12 months feel exciting?
Hey listeners, super quick station break question for you. Have you ordered your copy of my new best-selling book, Red Light, Green Light? Check it out. Grab your copy today at onpoint-communications.com/book. And now back to the show.
So
your hurdles?
yeah, the things that are keeping me up at night are one, being able to pull data that is not connected together through some LLM interface.
Okay.
So using different tools or
Sure.
skill sets, whatever the new term is, and being able to radically change the way people think about information
Mm-hmm.
is what we're doing to with
Mm-hmm.
some of our customers. The other thing I'm realizing is that not a lot of people really understand what a large language model is,
Right. You got to start backward,
and
go backwards. Mm-hmm.
they don't understand that it's very powerful. But if you don't understand what you're doing, you could end up nowhere very quickly. And
Right.
we could see that the various articles out there that the expenditures kind of shot up. And I think they're starting to stabilize now because people are realizing they're not seeing P&L for there.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're doing like what happened in the dot-com bubble was we all got to be on this thing. Oh, but we really don't know what it does. There's so companies are starting to say, well, we know we need to do stuff, but we need to do stuff that adds value. What's it going to add to the
Right.
team?
And
And
it
that's
is.
where we end up getting called and we say, let's pick a very specific project and let's work on that thing.
Yes.
Let's not boil the ocean. And then once we get that working, then we'll go forward. And what we're also finding is that a lot of companies kind of jump the machine learning bubble
Okay.
and they don't quite even, let's say the bottom half, the top half of the financial, the JP Morgans, the
Mm-hmm.
Millennium, the
Yep.
Citadel, right? They got money to throw at. But the companies of 50% and below, they didn't do the machine learning. They still kind of do feelings for
Mm-hmm.
investments.
Yeah.
So we do a lot
Emotional
of
investing.
we do a lot of old world analytics for them to
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, this is what you've done over the last 3 years. Here are the
Mm-hmm.
signals you missed.
Mm-hmm.
Automate this, and then we add in some of the cooler stuff.
Right.
So it's really interesting, kind of going, and it's not old school, but it's the original version of AI, the machine learning,
Okay.
that kind of stuff to round out a business and
Mm-hmm.
then automate those things,
Mm-hmm.
and then drive the P&L because now people that were doing feelings, you have people over, supervisors and managers saying, well, you're missing these signals. You got to get out. Like,
Right.
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 So those are the things that we're doing for people, which I find fascinating because that's kind of what I got my doctorate in. So
Well, okay. Yeah. I feel like you're getting at like audience analysis in a unique and psychological way where what I'm like through my lens, I'm thinking to myself, if people don't really know what an LLM does and where it could take people, then we, as in those speaking about it, aren't adequately meeting them where they are. We're telling them what we know, but they're coming at it from a lower level.
yeah.
And we need to come down to their level and meet them at their level of understanding, which is significantly less perhaps than what we wish it was. So let's educate them and then show them the value. And then we can all sing from the same sheet of
Right.
music. Is that sort of what you're finding? Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of a made up example on the fly here is
Yeah.
we'll meet people who say, well, I want you to analyze my data and tell me the largest sale of a widget or whatever the case may
Okay.
be. Well, yeah, I could do that.
Mhm.
But why do you want first of all, for us to go and do all the work for the LLM to do that?
Mhm.
Why? Why
Yeah.
would you
A
waste
lot of
your money
time,
to
a
do
lot of
that?
energy.
Right? So
Mhm.
there's some pre-LLM stuff that'll do that really, really well. And by the way, if you let us run that, we
Mhm.
could build a tool that hooks into your
Mhm.
LLM so
Okay.
that when you ask it, it runs the tool and then gives you an accurate answer, not
Mhm.
something that you don't know if it's accurate.
Mhm. Yep. Super, super interesting. And it feels to me like when you're on a 3 or 5 lane highway, you kind of help people merge into one core lane that's much more focused, that's got
Yep.
kind of that before you let them out again,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, into the world with the cement blockers. So wow. Well, that's fantastic. I love the direction you're going and
specific kind of niched value add that you are bringing to folks, and I'm excited to continue to follow what's happening at Frontier Foundry. Rocky, do you have any last minute words of wisdom for people who might be in the fetal position?
For those in the fetal position, it's a process like any other you have to do it. You just can't stay there long.
Yeah.
And you need to reorient yourself. What works for me is I try to find out what went wrong. It doesn't always, you can't always find that answer. Sometimes you just got to get up and move forward. The longer you stay down, I watch vet show Dr. Pol all the time.
Okay.
And when the horses are down or the cows are down, I'm like, oh, how many days? And he goes, how many days? If you're down too long, it's harder to get up. So you need to kind of reorient and get moving.
Yeah.
And it's not easy sometimes, but you got to figure out what that is for you.
Right. And just movement, progress, and a small step is better than no step at all, because no change, right? So, yeah. Well, thank you, Rocky. This has been a really fun and enriching conversation, as I knew it would be. So we're happy to have you here, and thanks for bringing some great storylines and stories from the Bronx. Maybe we'll call that. No.
We're gonna go to Arthur Avenue, have some dinner.
That's right. And now I'm gonna have to go check out the name of the guy who's the priest and the exorcist too. Well, thanks everybody for watching and listening. Don't forget to hit like and share the wisdom of Dr. Roque Martinez here today. We will be bringing you another incredible guest in another 7 days. Until then, get out there, find an audience of stakeholders that you would like to get from the red light of risk to the green light of go, and get out there and nail it. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Cheers.